everyone and welcome back to another video by Reviews by Beth, and today I'm going to be reviewing one of the books that is considered a classic, and that is The Catcher in the Rye. Now, this book has kind of been an inside joke my whole family life. My dad said that he once read this book and threw it in the bin. It was that bad. And once I started this YouTube channel, he was like, Beth, I really want you to read and review this and see what you think. Is it as bad as I thought it was, or was I just overreacting? So, in my dad's honour, I read The Catcher in the Rye. Now, this book has very mixed opinions. I had a little look on Goodreads, and I think it's a bit of a Marmite book. You either love or hate this, and I have to say, I am also a little bit in the hate side of this book. Now, I can see why some people like it, but I personally really didn't. If you don't know what The Catcher in the Rye is about, it basically follows this schoolboy called Holden. He's about, I want to say about 16, and he is really spoiled. He's from a privileged background. Private school boy set in like New York, and he is in, at the beginning of the book, an all-boys school. Now, throughout the book, he kind of gets expelled because he's failing all of his classes from this all-boys school, which is something that has happened multiple times to him. And he kind of leaves the school early and goes on the trip to New York and kind of has a few drunken nights. I think it's over about 48 hours we see this whole book, so it's kind of just one whole continuous story over the space of about 2 days. And he's got a very high opinion of himself. At the beginning of the novel, I was like, okay, I don't mind this writing style. It's a choice. It's in first person, and it's almost diary-like. It's a stream of consciousness book, yet again. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it may be considered a classic. But I really just disliked the narrator. Honestly, I just hated Holden throughout it. He is extremely privileged, and he knows that he's extremely privileged, yet he just throws that away. He just hates everyone around him. He hates the world. He says, I'm so depressed all the time, which I think he probably is at points, but he says it so much that we begin to think that he isn't. He's just whiny. We see him throughout the book being racist, sexist, and many other things, very derogatory about other people, has a very high opinion of himself, and can only seem to see the bad in other people, apart from when it gets to his sister Phoebe, who he absolutely adores. Now, we do have a bit of a theme, and I don't know how long ago it was, but we see that his brother died, and I wonder if the fact that he has such a warped vision of the people around him and the situations that he is in is because that he's going through grief, and because he maybe necessarily doesn't have a great relationship with his parents. Obviously, he's at boarding school. He just gets shipped off from one to another, so he feels a bit estranged from his family. That could be where we get in a bit of this self-consciousness and this self-righteousness, and I think that could be contributed in. I mean, I'm no therapist, but if we were to do a bit of psychoanalysis of this character Holden, I think that's probably where it stems from. But it's very interesting to see his story. He has a problem with alcohol that we see throughout the novel, and we basically see him after he leaves the school get drunk and just always feel very needy. He's a very needy guy. He's like, I'm going to catch up with this person. I'm going to catch up with this person. I'm going to catch up with this person. And he's constantly trying to reach out to people that he idolizes and say is a swell guy, or someone who really is quite cool. They really are. And he says that a lot. He has like a few catchphrases like, it really does, they really do, or it's really swell, or I'm really depressed. And he has like things that are just constantly going on, and he constantly says, and it gets very repetitive. But I guess that's inside his mind, so I guess we are still seeing inside his mind. But it is a letter. I guess the form of this novel is a letter. We don't know who he's writing to. Don't know if he's writing to himself, if it's a diary entry. I don't know. But he, at the beginning, says, I'm going to tell you the story. But it's a bit of an odd story. I mean, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's not a page turner. it's not like, oh, what's going to happen next? It's kind of, we just follow him on this drunken night where he's just constantly reaching out. I feel like nowadays we have like, when we're drunk, we do like drunk phone calls that we regret the next day. And he's kind of doing that. We're seeing drunken mistakes that he will regret the next day. I mean, he even invites a prostitute up to his room and then can't go through with it, and then ends up with a fight with the guy who was in the lift. It's all a bit much. He's got a very complex view on things. One of his complex view on things is women. He sees them as something like an object. He objectifies women a lot, and he just sees them as something to have, as instead of a person. And he's like, yeah, she's nice, she's pretty, I guess. And every single woman that he comes into contact with, he makes a comment about their appearance. Every single one. He's like, she could be pretty, she's not pretty, da-da-da. And then just really brings them down to what they look like and their physical appearance. He makes that very important in this novel. Reading this in the 21st century, this didn't really feel right to me, to like belittle women that much and that often in the novel. I just kind of got very annoyed about it. That's just me. There are some sweet moments in the novel. He has a very sweet relationship with his sister who tries to talk some sense into him even though she's about 10 years old. She's kind of like, get yourself together, what are you doing? And he continues to have these conversations. He will go to someone and he'll be like, I want to speak to this person. And then they will tell him, what are you doing? You're a mess. Sort yourself out. And then he gets annoyed. And then he goes on to the next person. And then they tell him, what are you doing? Sort yourself out. You're a privileged boy. You've got loads of talent. Thing is, actually, his character is apparently a really talented writer. And so he's not very good at math, science, but he's very good at English. And people are like, what are you doing? You're clever. Why are you flunking? And why are you leaving all these schools? You've got the talent, just apply yourself. And he just doesn't listen. And at the end, we kind of see him return home and kind of think about his next chapter, and he's going to go to another school, and it's going to be cyclical. You can kind of see where it's going. I mean, I'm not really selling it to you, but I don't really want to. I didn't think it was very good. There were some parts of it that I enjoyed, some characters which I liked. I also like the fact that it was set in New York. I went to New York about a year ago, loved it, so I could visualise it very well. Him walking down the streets of New York, I could visualise that. There was actually some really nice visual moments of him walking through Central Park and walking through the streets. It was quite atmospheric at points, but really, because it's so focused on the narrator and his opinions, I just couldn't get behind him. Didn't like him. I'm sorry, I just didn't. I just thought he was very whiny. So for that reason, I'm going to give this book a 1.5 out of 5. I mean, I will not be picking this up again. If you like it, tell me why you like it, because I know it's a very Marmite book. I know people love or hate it, so feel free to tell me why I'm wrong and why you love this book. But in my opinion, on the Marmite side, I am on the hate side. That is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. That is everything for this review. If you liked this video, then please like, comment and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can by looking at my Amazon links, or if you want to support the channel in a different way, you can look at my Patreon also. Alright, thank you, bye!